Hello, ACET friends. I am here today with Jaime Huerta, and we're starting a new series where we interview an expert. So Jaime works at TEA. He's one of our partners who has presented many times at our ACET conferences. So first, I'm going to ask you, thank you, first of all, for joining us, and ask you, Jaime, tell us what it is, what's your job title?
Well, first of all, Tammy, thank you for asking me or inviting me for this interview. And thank you to all those that are going to be watching. But I am currently the Division Director for the Federal Program Compliance Division at the Texas Education Agency. We are in the Department of Grant Compliance and Administration under the leadership of Corey Green, Associate Commissioner, and our section director is Matt Lashley.
All right. And I understand you're also state director over several of the ESSA programs, correct? Is that right?
Correct. I'm also the state director for the Title I Part A, Title I Part D, Title II Part A, and Title IV Part A programs in the division.
So you're kind of a busy person, it sounds like. Got a lot on your plate, and you do a great job. Okay, so I'd like to start out. We're going to ask you a few questions that are of a more professional nature related to your job. Then I'm going to ask you a few out of the box questions that are just to get to know you more as a person. So we'll start out with the professional questions. The first one is, I'd like to know tell us about your professional pathway. What led you to your current role at TEA? Where did you start and how did you come up the chains to TEA?
So my role in education, like my involvement in education actually started a year after I graduated from high school. I was elected at the age of 19 years old to my local school board in my hometown.
Wow.
And I served for 4 years on that school board, one of those years also being the board president. My career in education, I would say, started at that point, even though that's a volunteer position. But I did learn a lot about the ins and outs of school systems, being, from that perspective of a school board member. So after that, I went to the university. Well, at that time, while I was on the board, I was also enrolled in my undergraduate studies. And then after that, sought an alternative certification uh, to be a high school Spanish teacher. I was a high school Spanish teacher for a couple of years and then moved into campus administration. Did that for a couple of years at the secondary level, and then also had the opportunity to work at the elementary level. I worked as a dean of instruction and as well as a campus principal. Then after that, moved into central administration, several roles in various districts throughout the state. Served as a assistant superintendent for curriculum and instruction that also included federal programs oversight, and also served as a director of secondary education. Then also, soon after that, also moved into the superintendency. And after that, I decided to pursue employment with the Texas Education Agency. And since 2019, I've been at the agency.
That is amazing. I didn't know a lot of that about you. You've worn a lot of hats, so that kind of gives you a great deal of context for what the people across the state are going through. Were you in a small school, medium size? About what size was it?
Yeah, so I started off with it was a 4A school where I started off teaching and administration. I also had experience as a campus principal in a 1A, very small rural school. And then I failed to mention also, I also served as an assistant superintendent for human resources in a large district, large urban district or suburban district in the Houston area also as well. So I've had experience at different levels and also had experience at not only in a traditional school district, but also in a charter school system.
Wow. So you really um, you can kind of understand everybody's perspective, small rural, large urban. That's a really good experience that has very well prepared you for your role right now. That's interesting. So how has your role changed since you have worked at TEA? I know you've had several different positions.
So I've been honored and privileged to work in the same division since I joined the agency, like I said, in 2019. I was hired to support the Title I program in the Federal Program Compliance Division. And then the division actually, a couple of months later, grew, and there were additional programs that were added. So at that point, I then worked with Title II Part A, and also worked with the unsafe school choice option, persistently dangerous schools, and then also the Title V Part B rural and low-income schools program. So I did that. Then Anita Villarreal, well, she was the division director, and she then had Vivian Smurl providing support to Title I. And then there was a need for additional Title I support. So at that time, I went ahead and moved into the program director role for Title I. And also soon after became the state director for Title I. And then just recently in September of 2023, was promoted to division director after the retirement of Anita Villarreal.
Congratulations on that, by the way. That's great. Thanks for that. So, there's a lot of turnover in the world of federal programs. So I'd like to know, what is a tip that you would offer to a federal director who's new to the job?
So yeah, so the first thing is there's a lot to learn. And so it's important for a federal programs director to understand the great responsibility that they have in a district. So it's important that they spend time learning all they can about the requirements of the various programs that they're responsible for administering, as well as those fiscal requirements and EDGAR regulations, because they all kind of tie together. Additionally, again, like I mentioned, there's a substantial federal investment in these federal programs, and therefore there, great responsibility and accountability comes with the use of federal funds. So just learn a lot, learn those regulations, reach out for support, because there's always somebody out there that can provide support, whether it's their regional education service center, or us at TEA. We're always happy to help and be of service to anyone in the field. So that that's kind of
Mhm.
in a nutshell the tip that I had for.
That's very good advice. In the last few years, TA's really done a great job, in my opinion, of putting out support. You've put out a lot of the voiceover trainings that are posted on your website so that people can view those at any time. And I know in the Title I Part A program, y'all are starting a new series on newbies to the Title I Part A. And so I'm excited about that. There's a lot of options for getting a little bit of learning in addition to the trainings provided by TEA and the ESCs. So y'all are doing a great job there. So you've worn a lot of hats throughout the years. I'd like to know what's something that you have learned in your position that you're going to carry with you for the rest of your career. I'm sure you've been exposed to lots of people, lots of situations.
Yeah, so not only in this position, but just in education general, I think the strength of an organization or the strength of a team is the people, is its people. So I know that we have amazing staff in our division, as well as at all the regional ESCs that support the work that we do. And so that's something that I'll carry with me for the rest of my career, in that, knowing that the people are the greatest asset to an organization or to implementation of federal programs and all the requirements and red tape that comes with those programs.
Mhm. Yeah, I agree. I agree. All right, we're going to change gears and we're going to start the out of the box type category of questions. So the first one, just a little bit about you. What do you like to do to recharge at the end of a long week or stressful day? What do you do?
So recharging, pretty much just relaxing, watching shows, series or movies, going to the movies, enjoy doing that. Um, of course, getting in an exercise or two here and there at the gym, or a walk or a stroll. Not as much as I should do that to
Same.
recharge. I do try to get some of that in, but yeah, those are kind of some of the things I
Uh-huh.
enjoy doing.
Those are good self-care um, uh, tactics. Okay, next question. When you were growing up, what was your dream job?
So, as I mentioned earlier about going to, being elected to the school board, when my intention of my dream job was that I wanted to go into law, and I wanted to be an attorney. And originally, when I went into my undergraduate studies, I went into political science as my undergraduate degree with a minor in Spanish, with the intention that I was going to attend law school. But due to my experience on the school board, that totally changed my perspective and made me really think about my career choices at that time. And really, what got me was sitting on that stage at graduation and shaking hands and giving students their diploma that got me feeling like, I think I belong in public education, and I feel that I can have a more of an impact personally, and that would be more, I guess, self gratifying, and something that I would enjoy doing is going into education. So that's why I mentioned that I went into like an alternative certification program, because initially my degree plan did not include education. So I did enroll in a master's in certification program, and got to receive my certification and a master's degree in secondary education. And that's kind of what propelled me into the education field, although my dream job that I thought was going into law school and being an attorney.
I didn't know that about you, and I'm still astounded that at 19 you were so civic minded. You were definitely more mature at 19 than I was because I couldn't have cared less about the school board at that age. I'm really impressed by that. Okay, next question's kind of a weird one. If you knew it was safe, would you rather explore space or the bottom of the ocean?
Yeah, so if I knew it was safe is the key word there, but still, um, I don't, I don't know many people know, but I am a little fearful of heights. So space, although it would be very intriguing for me, I'd probably go with the bottom of the ocean. That's pretty vast as well. It'd be interesting to see what's under there. Also, because I also enjoy going to the beach and having, uh, you know, some fun in the sun kind of thing.
Uh-huh.
But again, the I do have a fear of heights, so I don't know
Mhm.
about going that far up to explore.
So that kind of surprises me because I'm kind of a nerd and I enjoy things like Star Trek. And I kind of thought you might be like that with me, no offense. But so I expected you to say space. So I learned something new for sure. Okay. Last out of the box question is what might our audience be surprised to learn about you?
Well, I guess the whole school board thing would have been
Hmm.
one thing, but if there's something else, um, I also had I guess, a different experience. While I was in college, again, I mentioned I was a political science major, and I was given the opportunity to do a federal government internship. And I got to go to Washington, D.C. for a semester and worked for the Department of Health and Human Services, actually in a grants office. And I was actually in DC. I was living in Silver Spring, Maryland, on September 11th, 2001.
Okay.
So that was a really crazy experience. I lived in a high rise with other interns, and we actually could see the smoke from the Pentagon
Oh,
from
wow.
the balcony. So that was really scary. But I thought that's something that
Hmm.
our audience might be surprised to learn about me.
Yes, yes. There's a lot of layers to you, Jaime. You've got a long history. All right, we're coming to the end of our interview, and again, I appreciate you taking the time to do this, but I thought it would be fun to end our interview with a rapid fire round of this or that kinds of questions. So I'll give you two choices and you tell me which one you prefer. I don't want you to overthink it. Just kind of go with your gut. Just say something, and you don't have to explain why you picked it unless you just want to. All right. So here we go. First one, hot coffee or iced coffee?
Definitely hot coffee.
Okay. Live theater or a movie?
Live theater.
Okay. Football or basketball?
Football.
Campfire or a fireplace?
Campfire.
Okay. Salty or sweet?
It should be salty, but it's sweet.
I know I would have a hard time choosing between those two because I like them equally. Okay. Text or call?
Text.
Okay. Paper books or ebooks?
Ebooks.
Me too. Amusement park or beach?
Beach.
In-store shopping or online shopping?
Mm, I would say those are pretty equal for me.
Okay. Okay. Are you a morning person or a night owl?
Morning person.
And then finally, this one's probably a little bit controversial. Would you rather be the driver or the passenger?
Passenger.
Okay. Okay. All right. That concludes our interview. Again, Jaime, I thank you so much for being part of this. And with that, we'll sign off on the recording of this interview. Do you have any final words you'd like to say to our audience?
No, just thank you again.
Okay.